The Topps Industry Conference was last week, and boy, was it juicy. Several hundred card shop owners and breakers got together here in Atlanta to hear from Topps and Fanatics executives about all of their plans and changes in the hobby going forward. And there was a lot of big news that came out of it. You probably have heard some of it about how they are going to start to scorecard hobby shops and ask hobby shops to reinvest in themselves to make a more modern appearance for the future. Of course, they had big product announcements like Topps football and basketball products coming back. And they talked about Fanatics events and all of Fanatics events plans, as well as changes with their redemption programs, an audit that they had done from KPMG of the randomness of how they're preparing boxes, and so much more. Now, you may have heard some of that news, but today you're going to hear the perspective of card shop owners. I have Ryan, CardCollector2, Ryan Johnson, the popular content creator and card shop owner from Ohio. He's going to be coming on the show with me today, and he and I are going to break down all of this news from the perspective of those who own businesses in the sports card hobby. What does it mean for our businesses? What does it mean for the business of so many others? And what does it mean for collectors? We're going to dive in now. Ryan, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. I feel like I might be one of the first two-time guests on the Geoff Wilson show. So
you are a repeat. You are a repeat. And the last time we did a show together, it was really popular. We talked a lot about your outlook for the hobby in 2024. In fact, let's revisit that real quick before we get into the Topps conference news, because I talked to you, might have been in December or right around the beginning of the year, and I said, do you expect 2024 to be a big growth year for you and for the hobby as a whole, or do you expect it to be kind of similar to years past or maybe a little bit of a decline? And you were optimistic at that moment in time. You're like, I think 2024 is going to be a big growth year. Your shop had a lot of momentum in December. You said that you had some of your busiest days ever in December. You thought some of that momentum would carry forward. Now that we are, 4 months or so, a little over 4 months into 2024, more than a third of the way through, what are you seeing? How does it feel right now?
Yeah, I think a lot of the momentum we had at the beginning or the end of 2023 carried into 2024. Early Q1 was really, really good. We definitely saw a little bit of a dip towards the end of Q1, though. I would say towards the end of March, early April, as we approached Q2, little bit more of a lull than we might have hoped for. Especially more in like the wax segment, wax breaks, things like that. A lot more demand for us around singles, individual cards, those kind of things. But there's definitely been an uptick in the last few weeks or so, where there's been a lot more demand starting to kick back up. I think it was originally for us, it was, approaching that spring break, summer's almost here, sports are dying off, people are just going to have more time outside on the road, and it seems like there's been a little bit of a balance there as we're kicking more into Q2. We have some events coming up. April was a relatively light month for product outside of the earlier football stuff in the beginning, but now we're about to get into some heavy hitters in the market with Bowman, baseball, select basketball. So we've seen a lot of better momentum now, but again, started well, a little bit of a lull here, end of Q1, early Q2, but starting to feel a little bit better now than we might have a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that's great. And I do think the product release schedule has an impact on that, especially on wax sales, right? And, people out there watching the show may not really appreciate the impact that the release schedule that the manufacturer set, how that can impact a card shop's or a breaker's revenue for any given month. And we've seen it here at Cards HQ. Before I opened up Cards HQ, it was not something that I necessarily put a whole lot of thought into. But now as a shop owner, you realize, if you've got a month with a couple of major product releases, for example, you mentioned Bowman, it's Bowman baseball week, and it's going to be huge for revenue. It's going to be huge for for breaks and for in-store sales and all that type of stuff. And if you get a couple of releases kind of stacked in a row of that magnitude, it can really make your month look special. And on the opposite, if you've got kind of a dull period of releases, then you see sales dip.
Yeah, and it's also, not only from a sales and revenue perspective, but also from a cash flow perspective, right? Crown Royal, basketball, chasing green kabooms, gold kabooms, like Victor 101. The first time they've ever had green kabooms in basketball. Select is a top 3, top 5 basketball product on the year. And then Bowman Baseball with only 4 pitchers in the entire set, right? All of those releases in 1 week, that's a lot of cash flow. So understanding how to balance that and what that means, especially after a few slower weeks and, getting into the summer months, I think that's another thing, right? I'm sure you see it, but is trying to balance that as a shop owner is not only do you have these waves in revenue, but also in, cash flow. It's some weeks are crazy high and some weeks are a good bit less.
Yeah, the economics of a card shop are wild. We could probably do an entire episode on it, and maybe we should do an entire episode on it at some point in time, because I think, some of the audience might be curious. But today I really wanted to concentrate the conversation on reaction to the TOPS conference. Yeah. TOPS conference just recently took place in Atlanta. People have probably seen a lot of the news. We've talked about it on some of our sports card investor shows already. But I thought it would be interesting to break the conference down from the perspective of people inside the business, of card shop owners. Yep. And breakers like we are. And what is that kind of almost, working professionals' perspective on some of the things that happen. So I'd love to start, Ryan, just kind of hearing your general sentiment coming out of that event.
Yeah. First thought was I left the TOPS conference super energized. I thought I learned a lot. Got to talk to Mike Geoff from Sports Card Nonsense. We were in a meeting and he had kind of mentioned, I feel like TOPS was really direct, this is what we're going to do, this is what's going to happen, these are what these cards look like. I feel like we got a lot of good information, and that was the first time I had ever been to a TOPS conference, so I didn't really know what to expect other than just kind of the rumblings and other things you had heard from other card shop owners. But I thought it was really good. I left super optimistic and energized about where the market is going to go over the next 3, 6, 9 months, and then ideally, realistically into the future here soon. I felt like I learned a lot of things I wasn't necessarily sure we were going to be told. The basketball product, the football product, what makes a good card shop and how TOPS is going to score you, and the redemption reduction, and a lot of things we're going to talk about today. But, for 72 hours or less in Atlanta, I felt like I learned a lot and walked away going, man, cards are going to be really, really fun here really, really soon. So I felt pretty good.
Yeah, the level of investment that TOPS and Fanatics are putting into this was on display. I mean, they clearly have been pumping a lot of money into personnel, marketing, product innovation, all aspects, operations, all aspects of their business as a manufacturer, really trying to up the game. And it was very clear that it was only the beginning. They said that on stage 10 times that, hey, we're still super early on this. We don't even have football or basketball, although there will start to become some products later this year. We're going to talk about that today. And there's just so much more for them to do and so much more they will do in the upcoming years. So you got that level of seriousness. And I'd say one of my main takeaways that I got along with that level of seriousness was they now expect card shop owners and breakers to step up their game. This, to me, this conference felt like a watershed moment where TOPS and Fanatics were saying it's no longer acceptable for business owners in the card community to act how you have acted for the past, 30 or 40 years. It is now time to modernize. It is now time to reinvest. It is now time to transform, the older looking kind of dusty card shops into, modern showcases of cards where people can walk into and have a really engaging experience in the shop. It's now time for breakers to reinvest in their production quality and up the game. It's now time for shop owners that are having success with their shops to consider opening multiple locations and moving into bigger markets with locations. It just, the whole thing to me just kind of had this feeling of like, it's put up or shut up time. It's go big or go home time. The industry is changing from kind of an old mom and pop mentality to something now much bigger, and it requires the operators and the investment now to step up to do that.
Yeah, I would agree with a lot with all you said. I think this is Topps has got a lot of money invested in these contracts in this industry. Like, they have gone all in, and I think it would be foolish of them not to ask us to go all in. You're seeing in what, 2 years? I think Ruben said 2 years and 2.25 years that Topps has been in this. Look at all the advertising, the marketing campaigns, the things they've already done in such a short period of time. It doesn't show that there's any signs of that slowing down. And I think to your point, there's not. I don't know why we would sit here and be surprised that Topps is going to say, yeah, you just can't rest on your laurels, and what got you here is just going to allow you to continue to get product at as much as you want and make as much as you want, and not have to do anything, not have to reinvest in the space, and not have to reinvest in your local community and the experience for the consumer. And just if there's dust, oh well, it just kind of sits there, let it collect dust. We're making money. It doesn't matter. I just think that idea that running a card shop is just going to be this unlimited cash flow. You'll make whatever, and you don't have to put it back into the hobby, and you don't have to grow and modernize. I just think that, those days are gone, and Topps is saying, hey, this is what we expect for you to be a part of this growth with us. But I think it's nice, because I think those people that want to invest and want to grow and, want to build it, I think Topps is showing will take you along for the ride. And I thought that was nice, is that there's a clear indication of what Topps is expecting, how to get there and what to do. And I think that's nice. I think that's a good way to go about it. If you're willing to invest in the space and you want to grow, Topps is saying, we'd love to grow with you.
And one of those elements that, Topps is looking at encouraging when it comes to card shop owners is they announced that they are now going to begin scorecarding card shops that have direct Topps accounts, and they're going to actually go into these shops and they're going to look at the shop when it comes to things like the aesthetics and the layout of the shop, customer service, operations. How is the shop performing? How does the shop look? Is it engaging customers? Is it a place that is giving customers an experience, a positive experience by having them walk in the door? Is it presenting in the right light? All of these different things. And Topps is going to begin assessing a score for shops and expecting shops to score above a certain level. And those that don't, they're going to expect that they either need to reinvest in modernizing or improving their service or whatever it may be, or they face over time potentially losing their direct account allocation from Topps. Now, they wanted to emphasize that this is not meant to be scary. This is not a gotcha. This is not like a secret shopper who's going to walk into a shop and pull their allocation the next day. It's meant to be a tool that, they and the shop owner are able to collaborate over and help guide the shop owner to future success. So they really wanted to emphasize it's not supposed to be a scary gotcha. But at the same time, they are saying if you don't do it, we could pull your allocation. And that is scary. And that's scary for a lot of shop owners, right? What did you take away from that? And then did you hear sentiment from others? I'm curious. What was kind of the murmur coming out of that?
Yeah, I don't know if I know much of the murmur other than it was nice to have clear expectations about what success looks like to Topps. I think that's the important thing, is it didn't seem like it was ambiguous. There was clear, I don't know if we can share them, but there were clear points of this, and this are what Topps is looking for. These are things where you can, improve your grade. So yeah, I don't know if there was anything super crazy out of it. Again, I think a lot of the people there that if you're in that room, if you're spending the time to be away from your business, your family, those kind of things, you're paying money to go to that conference and learn what what Tops and Fanatics are putting on. I don't think you're necessarily scared of the challenge. I think you're looking to build and looking to grow, and you're clearly investing in your future by being there. So I don't think the sentiment or the takeaway I got from rumbling with fellow card shop owners was anything negative per se. It was cool, and that's what we said. I took that away as we got some things to work on, right? I think we've built a cool shop, but I think there's plenty of things we can do to improve. And not only are we trying to do that daily, but you come back and be like, I want to build the biggest, coolest card shop in America, right? And I've been to yours, I've been to Burbank, I've been to Indie Card Exchange and Kentucky. We've been all over the country to card shops, and there's some awesome ones out there, and the bar is really, really high. But what can we do to improve? And I think Tops has shown some of these things, and that was what's nice about being there is we've got some different ideas to come back and try to fix some things and make it the ultimate experience.
I think it's great. I like the transparency, as you said. Transparency is good. So now expectations are more clear in terms of what Tops is requiring of people who have accounts. I was kind of wondering, like, is this going to ruffle the feathers of some folks who have, had card shops for 30 years and maybe they look a certain way, but their customers are used to that look. There's a certain classic nostalgia to certain older shops. And now Tops is saying, hey, you got to kind of update and modernize and update the design. And, is that going to, get pushback from a lot of shop owners? I didn't really hear any pushback in the room. That doesn't mean that there weren't some maybe who were thinking like, what is this? But I actually heard some positive sentiment around it. I heard some people say, I'm happy Tops stepped up and did this because I think it's going to help advance the whole industry, and a rising tide rises all ships. And if people, if Tops marketing does its job of getting new collectors into the hobby, which is what Tops is very, very clearly focused on. And we're going to talk about like the Fanatics Fest here in a little while, which is a big event that they're doing, of course, we learned a lot more about that at this event, at the Tops conference. And it's clearly designed to getting new people into the hobby, just general sports fans into collecting. So if they're able to do that, then the first time one of those new people walks into a card shop, Tops wants it to feel inviting and fresh and modern and something they want to come back to. And I think that's what this is all about. As you said, Tops is putting in a lot of money on their own. They're going all in, and they're expecting us as card shop owners and breakers to go all in alongside them. And I don't think it's an unreasonable request. And I think a lot of people in the room felt that it was reasonable for this type of stuff to be established. Yep,
100%. I think you hit the nail on the head. It would be foolish to ask Tops to go all in and bring a lot more clientele and a lot more customers and collectors and that kind of audience to the space, and then say we're not going to change, but Tops keep pumping in money and dollars and attention and marketing and all those things.
So Tops not only wants existing stores to improve, they want more stores. They have made a point about, hey, we want stores in big cities. We want stores in areas where there's not stores currently. I think they call them card deserts. They want stores in card desert areas. They like to see more stores in stadiums. So they're wanting to aggressively expand, encourage card shop owners that are currently good operators and have good shops to expand. I'm curious, Ryan, have you thought about location number 2, or are you just really concentrated on making your shop in Columbus as good as it can be within its current footprint?
Yeah, I mean, I would be lying if I said I haven't thought about it, but it doesn't really appeal to us right now. I think for us, it has always been build the coolest card shop in America, and building 5 that are, for me, it's still a work in progress to kind of build one cool card shop. I think we're, truthfully, like trying to work on the operator part of it. It's how do we, run Kids Club? How do we do these different things, these different events? How do we build? There's just things we've got to focus on and we've got to work on as a shop that I want to master more before we're like, hey, let's go build 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I think personally for us, it's kind continuing to try to build the coolest card shop. But I think there's some things we've got to master before we really start looking at different locations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense for sure. And I mean, here at Cards HQ, same thing, by the way. Like I am under the mindset that I would love to open up additional Cards HQs in other major metro cities in America in the not too distant future. But we got to get Atlanta to 100% before we start doing that, right? In business, it is easy to have too much opportunity and to have that kill you. Like there's startups that die because they have too much opportunity ahead of them. They go chasing all the opportunity before they've really shored up their operations and their ability to, profit off of the opportunity that they started with. And it's easy to run yourself out of cash that way, have operational challenges, turn yourself upside down, inadvertently on a much greater scale, and then, kill off your business simply because you were having success and you tried to grow and expand too fast because you saw the opportunity. So I think it's important to, not run out tomorrow and open up a bunch of shops. And, I do want to do it in the future, but I want to make sure we've got our operations really dialed in and feel very, very confident before we do that. And we still got work to do in Atlanta. Like, we hear like we got work to do to make this the best card shop possible. And there's a lot more I want to do with this shop, from, continuing to improve the retail experience. I want to do a lot more events in the shop. We don't do, enough events. I want to do a lot more of those. Our live selling and breaking is just in its infancy compared to where I want to see that go. We've launched our website, but there's things we can do to make that better. There's a lot we want to do. And so, we're going to work on all of that stuff in the months to come. And then we're going to start thinking about, where's next.
Yep. Yeah, I'm aligned 100%.
Well, the news that probably got the most attention publicly coming out of the conference was the announcement that Topps was getting back into basketball and football cards. And specifically, they said Topps Chrome Basketball is going to be coming out sometime this summer. That's going to be a big one because it's going to have Wemby rookie autos in it. They're going to print, a few Topps basketball sets from this past basketball season, so they can still capture some Victor Wembanyama rookie cards. They're also going to be doing football releases. In fact, they said their first football release was going to come out before the National, and that was going to feature CJ Stroud rookie autos. It was going to be from this past football season. So you were going to capture Stroud and some of the other quarterbacks, Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson and some of the other guys from this last year. And I think these are unlicensed products. They're not going to have the team logos on them. Normally, I personally have not been a big fan of unlicensed products because they tend not to do as well in the secondary market, and they tend to be they're fine collector products, but they tend not to necessarily hold value as well from what I've seen in the past. However, in this case, I personally am all on board, completely on board with these products, and I think they are going to do very, very well because they have that exclusive autograph content that the Panini, the actual official licensed cards from Panini don't have. We don't have CJ Stroud autographs or Bryce Young autographs in Panini football products, and we don't have Victor Wembanyama autographs in Panini basketball products. They will be in these products. By the way, on the basketball side, along with LeBron, who also doesn't sign for Panini. So you've got a chase not just at Wembanyama from a rookie level, but you've also got a chase at LeBron from the veteran level, and they've sprinkled it with some other all-time greats in there as well, like Magic Johnson autographs and Larry Bird autographs and Shaquille O'Neal autographs, and they got Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. So I think there's going to be enough unique autograph content in these products that the unlicensed thing is really not going to matter, and they're going to be big deals. Agree, disagree? What is your thought on these product announcements?
Yeah, I definitely agree, for sure. There's a lot of things about this scenario that makes it different than your typical, your response online that, these cards don't have logos, they're not gonna sell, right? This is really the first time in the market, at least that I can remember, where you have so many top athletes that do not have licensed autographs. Like, I can't think of the last time we had the number one pick that was a... Myles Garrett didn't have autographs in 2017. That was really one I remember. And some of his, like, secondary good gold, like the golds, the rare stuff did pretty well then. But, like, when's the last time we've had a number one type pick, a number two, like a CJ Stroud that didn't have autographs? And you think about it where the logo thing will not matter as much in a situation where these guys, there just is no alternative to this. It's going to come down to, do you prefer the Texans card without the Texans logo? Do you prefer the Ohio State card with Ohio State logos? You know, I was doing some research on this the other day because people were talking a lot about the no logos. Like, Stroud has Bowman autos in 2021, the first time Topps ever put out NIL product, 2021 Bowman, and Stroud has autos in it, his first Bowman auto, and I was buying those early on because they didn't have logos. I collect Ohio State. Right, I'll buy one. Stroud has sales of like orange shimmer autos, not like true orange that like people prefer. Like orange shimmer auto. I think the last orange shimmer PSA 9 with a 10 autograde of Stroud did like $1,700. That's a lot for a quarterback of CJ Stroud from a non-licensed product, right? Not even college license. We're not talking Texans uniform. So I think there's some real potential in this. I think we'd be lying to ourselves if we sat here and said, nobody's going to chase Victor Wembanyama Topps Chrome basketball when Topps is releasing a basketball product for the first time in 15 years. This is a big deal. Like, do I think the Victor Wembanyama card would do better if he had a license? Yeah, it definitely would. I don't think either one of us would disagree with that. But I believe very strongly that the Victor Wembanyama Superfractor Auto will have a chase and will have demand and will have interest. So yeah, I'm a big believer that although they're not licensed, it will definitely get people's interest. And that's going to be the question, is which one will the market decide is of value to them 20 years from now? Victor Wembanyama's second year Topps Chrome Auto, which will have a license when Topps produces it at some point when they get the license, or the third year, whatever one that is that has his license. Will it be that Spurs autograph with the logo, or will it be his first Topps Chrome rookie autograph with no logo? I'm going to bet on the Topps Chrome with no logo on it. I think that is the one people will want. Like, Chrome is a thing in sports cards. It's Chrome, it's Prism, it's Select, it's Optic, it's Cosmic, it's Finest. That matters in cards. Topps Chrome basketball that's big. And I don't think the licensing is going to play a big enough factor in market demand in the long run like it normally would. If Victor Wembanyama had a National Treasures rookie patch auto in Panini, I think this is less of an argument. He doesn't have that. He does not have autographs that are licensed. This will matter, and I think Topps knows that, and I think the market will show that.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I totally agree. I think it's different than it has been in the past for sure. It's exciting. I'm excited to get these products in our shop and excited. I'm also excited to see the price point, and I think that this could be a really big differentiator as well. I think, the price, it's hard for me as a card shop owner with football products and basketball products because of the price point that they're at. People come in, they want Prism. Kids want Prism, but then parents see hobby boxes priced at $900 and are like, no, you can't have Prism. Maybe you can have a blaster, but you can't have a hobby box of Prism. That's tough. It's so expensive. Whereas a hobby box of comparable baseball products obviously is considerably less. So I'm excited to get some less expensive, good quality hobby product with big chases that is more accessible to the average everyday family that walks into our shop. And because these cards are going to come out of the gate unlicensed, they may even be a little bit less expensive than you would even normally see to start, because they're not having to pay for the licensing of MLB and or NBA rather, and NFL. Yeah. So I'm hoping they're good prices. I don't know what prices they're going to be, but I'm hoping they're good, reasonable prices, and that too will be a huge differentiator. I'm hoping we get to sell a lot of them for that reason. Yeah,
I think my fear, but I think it's a bigger conversation for another day, where it's, is Prism $900 because Panini says it's $900, or because every breaker in America wants to have Prism? And I think the same is going to be true about Topps Chrome basketball for the first time in 15 years. Since Steph Curry was a rookie, I'm not necessarily super optimistic that you're going to get Topps Chrome Basketball at $250 on your shelf on opening day. I have a feeling these I mean, if you tell me LeBron James and Victor Wembanyama and Steph Curry have autographs in there and superfractors, I don't know the math off the top of my head, but I think LeBron James has less than a handful of Topps Chrome superfractor autos. License or not, that card is going to have some demand for it. I'm a little worried that Topps is going to have a real challenge on their hand where it's producing enough to meet market demands and not increase price without saturating the first Topps Chrome Basketball release in, 15 years again. I think that's going to be a really fine balance that I'm intrigued to find out how they handle.
That's a very fair point. You're right. Maybe I'm maybe underestimating market demand and what that could mean to just naturally driving the prices into the stratosphere. Topps could fully intend for this to be a $250 a box product, yep. But then it literally could become so hot that it could end up double or triple that, by the time it's out for a week, if demand is really that high. So, how do they print enough of it?
Bowman Chrome Basketball with the Victor Wembanyama card with his international jersey on, those boxes are, I don't know off the top of my head, but I think they're north of $400, right? That's a lot. That's a college-based product. We're going to get a Topps Chrome product with Victor Wembanyama still not in a Spurs jersey either way, and LeBron Topps Chrome autos, and Steph Curry Topps Chrome autos, and Brandon Miller, and Scoot Henderson, and the list of guys like that. You go down that list, I just have a hard time sitting here being like, Topps Chrome Basketball will be $250 on the shelf on day one. It's going to be a very interesting, like I said, fine line on making enough to meet market demand and not oversaturating, but keeping it affordable and not, again, like, you don't want to oversaturate, but you don't want it to be $1,000 a box. I tend to lean on the side of demand will really be strong for this product right before the National. It sounds like it's supposed to come out this summer, before or after the National, either into next basketball season when Victor stuff's, he's going to be in demand then, or in the summer leading up to the National. It's going to be interesting. I'm very, very intrigued. I think this will be the most intriguing thing we talk about today is basketball coming out with some of the guys that we've been looking for autographs of that don't have any cards that are autographed, putting those in a market. What does that, again, bigger conversation for another day. What happens to Stroud stuff that's not autographed? Up, down? Like, what does this do to the card market for those particular players? I'm very, very fascinated by this conversation. I think it has really, really impactful implications in the market as a whole.
Yeah, it's going to be really fascinating to watch. And as you said, that balance that Topps has to strike between printing enough to not make these prices go into the stratosphere, but not printing so much that it waters down and dilutes the product and makes everyone disappointed with the quality of the first release of this. It's such a balancing act, and I would not want to be on their shoes on this one. It is one, and it's one they can't really afford to get wrong. Yeah. Yep. Fascinating. Well, one thing we know for sure, Ryan, is that as people rip boxes of that, hopefully there aren't many to any redemptions, because Topps, one thing they trumpeted at their industry conference was that they've significantly reduced the number of redemptions over the course of the last year that you find in products, which I think is an awesome thing. And then if you do find a redemption, you now have 10 years to redeem it instead of 2 years. And to a degree, I think that really benefits the secondary market for wax, the concept of investing in wax and kind of holding on to boxes for a longer period of time. It is, so it's kind of an interesting dynamic change. I love the reduction of redemptions. There's nothing more deflating than opening up a big expensive hobby box and getting a redemption. And so you don't get that actual thrill of actually being able to show the card and show what you just bought. So I'm thrilled with the reduction of that. I think that's good news. Yep. What do you make of this and the extended time?
Yeah, I think that you hit on the two key points I took away from that. I think there's two really, really important things that are both positives for the market as a whole. One is the consumer experience, right? Somebody walks into your store chasing a Victor Wembanyama card, and they hit a big one, and the moment is captured live. Hitting a redemption versus a autograph card of Victor Wembanyama. Those are not the same experience. And I think improving customer experience in the store, on the couch with dad, at a baseball game where they're hoping to open more card shops, things like that. That is a win for the hobby when you can open up a box and actually hit the card you're promised, not a ticket for a card at a later date. Just not the same. So I think that is a huge win. And then I think the wax investment piece. I think there's no doubt about it that there are people that invest in wax. And the idea that for like instance, like 2020, I think in Contenders or National Treasures, Joe Burrow is a redemption, right? If those expire, that just ultimately will force you to either sell the product or hopefully Panini will work with you after. Like, there's just complications in having redemptions in product for a longer time horizon. But now you can wait and see, is Victor Wembanyama, the best thing ever? Or is this another Zion case where couldn't stay healthy, wasn't the right fit, whatever it may be. So I think it gives us a little bit more of a time horizon on the wax, because I don't think there's any doubt about it that there are people out there that invest in wax, hold wax. That is a different kind of like an asset class in the card space itself, is sealed wax. So I think there's two really big wins there that, I think Topps is really hitting home with, removing redemptions and then getting some of the old ones fixed, changing the timeline.
Yeah, definitely a win all around. Fanatics Events was also a big talk of the Topps conference. They had the head of their events team on stage, and he revealed some more details about Fanatics Fest in New York City. It's going to be more of, I'd say, a general sports fan experience. There's a lot of trading cards, dealers and content there, but it's going to go well beyond that. It's not a trading card focused event. It's more of a fan focused event with trading cards being part of it. All the major sports leagues represented with their own activations. They also have like a culture and streetwear area. And then they also announced that they're going to start doing regional and local events. They announced that there would be a regional Fanatics event that would be more card focused in Orlando at the beginning of November. They've got a local one, I think a smaller card show they're going to be doing at the Pittsburgh Pirates Stadium. I believe that might have been in September. And so there's stuff happening now on the Fanatics event side, and they clearly seem to want to have an ambitious event calendar with that one big Fanatics Fest as the big main event every year, but then a lot of other, smaller events throughout the course of the year. Based on what you heard, are you going to rush out to these Fanatics events, or are you going to be more in kind of wait and see mode and not go to the first few of them? What is your take on this?
Yeah, I think the Fanatics Fest is going to be really different than anything I've ever attended, so I'm eager to attend that and see what that's like. I've never been to ComicCon. I've never, I think Ruben mentioned like South by Southwest and some of like his promo talking about the show. I haven't been to things like events or conventions outside of the card space like that. So I think this is going to be a completely different type of event than something I'm used to, or a lot of like our fellow card dealers have been to. So I'm eager to see what the, inclusion of the major sports brands, some of these other big companies, what that looks like at a show event, like how Tom Brady is worked into an event like this. That what would Tom Brady do at the National? Like, that seems kind of, like a far-fetched idea just with how the National is run and what happens at the National. So this is kind of a different show, and so I'm eager to kind of see what it looks like. But again, like, have all the confidence in the world that Fanatics is going to build something really, really cool. I'm so excited to see that. Now, the card show space is completely different. The Orlando one, sounds like there's going to be a ton of tables at that. I don't think I would treat that any differently than I would treat if someone said, hey, we're going to run a show out in Burbank or in Dallas or Chicago or Boston. You tell me there's a 900 table show, that would naturally draw some of the best dealers in the country. Anybody who's looking to, attend a show that has that kind of traffic. So I think those are kind of different for me. I think I'm eager to see what the Fanatics Fest looks like with the inclusion of things outside of trading cards. But I'm also excited to be at a huge show with hundreds and hundreds, potentially 1,000 type dealers. I think those are going to be different, but I'm excited to see both.
I think that's a spot on analysis. I think Fanatics Fest is going to be like the Super Bowl experience. Have you ever had a chance to go to the Super Bowl experience before?
Yes, I I've been to the Super Bowl once. I didn't spend a ton of time at like the experience there, so probably can't give you enough context or relate enough.
Yeah, it's a big event, made for the fans who are
Yep.
in the area or going to be going to the Super Bowl with a lot of interactive things to do. They've got sprint down the football field to get your 40-mile, your 40-yard dash timed like you're at the combine, and they've got, a lot of different interactive booths of throwing footballs or doing different things, athlete appearances, games for people to play, that kind of stuff. And so I think you're going to see that's when they were describing Fanatics Fest, that's what it reminded me of. I'm like, okay, so this is the Super Bowl experience
Gotcha.
across all sports. It's an experience like that that's going to be interactive and that kind of thing. And then trading cards are a big piece of it, but it's like the trading cards are kind of layered along the edge of what's going to be kind of an interactive, FanFest show floor. That's what I think it's going to be like. And I'm excited to check it out, just like you. Like, I think it's definitely worth going this year. I think it's definitely worth checking out. I'm going to go more so and kind of take it in. I think we are probably going to set up, for Cards HQ, but we're not necessarily expecting the card show element of it to be like a really serious high revenue card show, the way that you would expect if you went to Dallas to set up at the Dallas card show. We're expecting this to be almost a little more like kind of brand exposure, meeting new collectors, exposing them to who Cards HQ is. Maybe they join us for live streams or, breaking and that kind of stuff down the road. So we're kind of thinking it's going to be a little more like that, but we'll definitely, I'm excited to see how it goes.
Yeah, in complete agreement there, more of a networking event atmosphere type feel. And again, brand exposure, and selling, dealing, those kind of things, bonus, but going more for the feel, the environment, the experience, and in agreement with you for sure.
Yeah, well, I'll see you there, and we'll compare notes on what we think of it. It is only 3 weeks after the National, so hopefully my voice will be fully recovered by that point in time. But with how bad it gets by like the last day of the National, I definitely am going to need those 3 weeks in between to try to recover.
For sure.
The final thing that I wanted to talk to you about, Ryan, today, kind of the final piece of news that came out was this thing about KPMG auditing the Fanatics practices of putting cards randomly into packs. And, there's obviously a lot of accusations. You have been accused multiple times of getting loaded boxes from Topps or from Panini on various products. And so what I think happened here is I think Topps wanted to put an end to the loaded box conspiracy theory that people like yourself, a big content creator, a popular card shop owner, breaker, that you're somehow getting boxes that are special packed loaded boxes that others cannot get, right? So they had KPMG, one of the big accounting firms, come in, audit the process, and basically came back and kind of gave them a clean bill of health on how they're doing the randomization and everything like that. You think this is a big deal? Is this going to actually change anybody's mind? That's a question that I have. I'm kind of glad they did it to just kind of say it's the truth, but I kind of already believe that was the truth anyway, that they did things the right way and randomly. So what are your thoughts? Yeah,
again, I'm going to echo a lot of the same thing you said there. I think it is if you believed those things were happening, this isn't going to change your opinion. The people that the tinfoil hat gang is still going to continue to wear them and continue to think that people with audiences are still getting juiced boxes and loaded cases and special preferential treatment on big time hits. So I don't. It's like you said. It's great that it was done to put an ease, I guess, to anybody that was maybe on the fence about this. But the groups that believe super strongly that people with an audience in the sports card face or in the sports card industry are getting the loaded boxes or the juice cases. This audit doesn't change their opinion and is not going to move the needle for them. As much as we would like that to be the case and say, hey, we're not getting anything special here. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I've never received any loaded boxes or juice cases or anything like that. So unfortunately, this audit isn't going to change the like I said, the group that believes that to be the case.
I mean, hey, I'll take the loaded boxes of juice cases, send them my way. I mean, please. I love all the 101s. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't work that way. I'm glad it doesn't work that way because obviously that would actually affect the integrity of this entire thing. But look, I'm appreciative that Topps took the step to try to do this.
Yeah.
But it's whether it's ultimately going to change any minds or not, I'm a little bit skeptical like you are.
Yep. Yeah. Unfortunate, but I don't disagree.
All right, Ryan. Well, it was great to walk through all of that news from the Topps conference. The hobby has certainly not been on short supply when it comes to big news this year, and the Topps conference gave us even more of it, to talk about. I'm glad to hear that as a fellow card shop owner that you continue to be optimistic and have a real positive outlook about where all of this is going. I certainly do as well. And as you said, coming out of that Topps conference, I felt a lot of excitement as well. I have a lot of optimism for the future. It kind of helped build on that and reinforce that to be the case. So, hey, hopefully bright days ahead for both of us and for all the other card shop owners and breakers out there and for everybody involved in this quickly growing industry.
Yeah, again, going to continue to, just repeat a lot of what you said. I think the good thing is we left with a lot of energy and focus and clarity, and really felt like we left in a good spot. Halfway through Q2, and the Nationals close, and it's hard to believe. I think it's 75 days away. So a nice boost of energy and confidence heading into a summer that's going to be super eventful with upcoming product releases and sports returning and the biggest card show in the world. And yeah, it's just a lot of things to look forward to. And appreciate you having me on for yet another fun conversation.
It's been a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I'm sure the audience enjoyed it as well. And I want to remind the audience that they can get the full-length episode of The Geoff Wilson Show on YouTube. It's a different channel. It's The Geoff Wilson Show on YouTube, as well as on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify by searching for The Geoff Wilson Show. Ryan, thank you so much, and we will talk again soon.